Hello, everyone. What a pleasure it is to see you all here. Today, on this stage, the power of cinema is going to meet the urgency of climate action. Our session, Real Green, Sustainability and Storytelling Across 4 Cinemas, explores how the film industry can be a force for environmental good, both on the screen and behind the scenes. We're going to trace the path of green production practices and informative storytelling across 4 major global cinema hubs. Now, let's take a look at the AV, please.
I grew up in a perfect environment. There was a river, there was farmland, there was forest. So we were, as community, were dependent on each other.
Hi.
भगवान की बड़ी कृपा है तुम सबों।
Well, I think I really appreciate the sensitivity in the film. You know, I've been directing for about 19 years in commercials.
इधर जा मत, मैं कल का काम निपट के आ जाऊंगा।
Pues que a veces pues no todo el mundo estaba preparado en su momento para verlo. Ahora, por supuesto, pues el público es mucho, ¿no? Estamos acostumbrados a ver de todo y yo creo que ya es más complicado sorprender.
In 20 years back, it was like deserted, and it's green now. It's thick forest, which is created by community only.
To moderate this session, we have a writer, orator, critic, and well-known journalist who traveled all the way from London to guide us. Please welcome Mr. Naman Ramachandran. As the host country, we are truly honored to facilitate this critical dialogue between India, our focus country Japan, our spotlight country Australia, and our partner country Spain, represented by 4 leading figures from their respective industries. Representing India is Mr. Nila Madhab Panda, a national award-winning director known for pioneering socially relevant cinema focused on the environment. Please let's give him a big round of applause. From Japan, we welcome Ms. Mina Moteki, a dedicated producer celebrated for championing independent cinema who sheds light on what it means to be truly green within the Japanese film industry. From Spain, let's welcome the incredibly talented Anna Saura, who is celebrated for a powerful voice and deeply moving performances. And joining us all the way from Australia, Mr. Garth Davis, the acclaimed Academy Award-nominated director whose commitment to responsible filmmaking provides a powerful perspective from the Australian film landscape. Dear guests, thank you so much for traveling to be with us here today. We're ready to learn how to make our films and our planet a little greener. Over to Mr. Naman Ramachandran.
Thank you. So I have a lot of questions, but we need to leave some time for audience questions as well. So the first question is for all 4 of you. Across your industries, what does sustainable filmmaking actually mean today, beyond the buzzwords? Let's start with Mina.
Hi, my name is Mina. I'm from Japan and I'm a producer. Thank you, first of all, for having me here today, IFFI, and it's such an honor to be here. About your question, I think in Japan it's still undeveloped regarding this green practices, because in Japan there's a system of for example a screenplay. We still print out all the scripts for crew and cast. So whenever it comes to a production, it's a lot of waste we are still making. So even though the filmmaking in Japan is really strong, but still in terms of greener practices are still weak. That's I would feel. So to improve that, I really believe that small things is really important. Today I'm here as an independent filmmaker, so my perspective is more like from independent filmmaking. But I would say like major companies, they are more like they have more budget to save the energy, but it comes to independent filmmaking, it's always difficult because like we have low budget, and in that budget we have to also think about the green. That's always it's a challenge. So, but in my production, usually like for pre-production, we do like all the script writing on like digitally, so that like we don't waste paper. Or if you don't have to go out, like we usually have like online meetings, so that we don't have to like use a gas or all those resources. So by doing that, like little by little, we are trying to like save the energy. That's yeah.
Thank you. Anna?
So, hello, thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much for coming. I'm Anna Saura from Spain. I'm also an independent producer. And for me, the most important thing, of course, I completely agree with what you said, that when we make small movies with low budget, it's not easy, you know, to make the things as we would like to make it. But there are small actions that they can make the change. For example, the plastic bottle of waters. For example, the lights. No? When you have to rent the lights, you can rent the big lights with the oil, and you can plug in the plug, or you can rent a LED, for example, that it consumes very, 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 very low. You can work on the distribution of the cars, of the vans, of the trucks. So you can put the people together, and you can use, instead of using 3, for example, when you have to move 3 people, you can put it together. So there are small things that they can make a change. And this is, for me, the most important thing, to create this conscious for all the crew, but also, you know, the artistic team, the actors, the actresses, the directors, to everyone, that it's in our hand, and we can do these small things. You cannot, of course, as much as you can do, it's much better, but we can do many, many things. The important thing is to create this conscious, to show them that we can do it, that it's very easy. So that's why in Spain, from many years from now, we used to work on a green protocol, that we start working on it from the very beginning of the pre-production, where we put these small actions that we all can do. So of course, this is, I think it's the first step for making the industry, but also the world, more green, and to respect the planet and the environment.
Garth?
We started dealing with this very early on in the commercials. I had a commercial company doing TV commercials, and we worked out our carbon footprint with the help of scientists, and then we created a carbon tax on the budgets, and then we would ask the advertising agencies if they would front up the cost, and we would plant trees to offset. So we were starting very early on in that regard. I think that the studios especially are leading the charge on this right now. There's a huge incentives now to obviously be greener. In all the practical side of things, even the coffee that I just did a big Netflix series in New Zealand, and the coffee came from local suppliers. So like trying to get the food and the resources from local people. So all of that is well and truly, it's changing rapidly. I guess there's another side to this, and it's around, I think, the themes of our stories, and the stories that we're telling can create environmental change through our audiences. So I'm a big believer in bringing an audience back, connecting them back to the landscape and to nature, reminding them of that very beautiful relationship that we have with it. And I think that this is what we've been talking about. Back in Australia, we've been talking about we need to put an environmental lens on our stories. Like, even if it's just subtle, it doesn't need to dictate or drive the story itself, but in the subtle and the subtleties of the storytelling or the textures of the story, that can have huge impact because it's going in and you're normalising it. So, because the people that are trying to stop change are very powerful, but they're a minority, but they've got the biggest voice. So the only way, there's like 90% of the world want to change. So I feel like if we can normalise it and empower people to make the changes within their own life, that's very powerful too.
And Nila?
Namaskar. Well, I think I'm very happy to hear that because Australia is doing a lot. And I was about to talk about that, the sustainable incentive. Also, making production house responsible for carbon footprint. We all love cinema. We are in a glamorous world. It looks beautiful. But behind that, the kind of mess we live in a production is insane. I always compare that with processed food, which looks beautiful, tastes well, but there are a lot of harmful elements in that. Similarly, cinema, you see that beautiful screen, large cinema, but behind that, there are a lot of harmful elements. The kind of wastage we do. There was a beautiful study, a medium budget film in Hollywood or Bollywood. They leave about 650 to 1,000 tons of garbage. Imagine the carbon footprint we leave. So in a bigger film, bigger Hollywood film, when you see, you enjoy. But you almost, by making that one film, you almost, I would say, size of soccer field, that much of ice melting in the Arctic. So that's how we call it sea level rise, ice melting. Everything is contributing. The point is, we entertain. We know that this is a business of creativity. We may not compromise that. But what if, on a simple thing we do, we get conscious from the day one, just paying little extra to have a, say, creative sustainable director who get conscious about all that. When you're budgeting, when you're doing production, and there's so many incentives we are doing. Just do a sustainable carbon incentive, So I think these small changes, and when you're saying that, on a low budget film it's difficult, I would say low budget film is much easier. Just imagine, go back and see how Dogma movement happened. In a Dogma film, all those rules, and those films did wonderful all over the world. They started Dogma 25 this year, I saw in Cannes. So if you make a film same without compromising the creativity, you make a film in almost lesser budget, and you're doing the same thing and put a stamp saying that, okay, I have this much of carbon credit. So your problem is solved. I think that little conscious, and cinema is a mass thing. We can really influence audience worldwide in any language, any country. We can do a lot. Start with that, because you don't have any other planet to live. It's just one planet. We are one generation. We have already used 50% of the energy from planet Earth. It's high time, unless Elon Musk find another planet to live in. So I think, we are the people sitting here in this room can do a lot on environment. Otherwise, we can keep talking, keep writing. It becomes just a study material, but nothing comes in your soul.
Thank you. And that neatly leads me to my next question, which is also for you. I had some country-specific questions. So India has scale and volume, but there are cost constraints, unlike most markets. So what's the most realistic way to push environmentally responsible production without pricing out the smaller film? You talked about the smaller films. So sometimes the cost of keeping things environmentally friendly can be expensive. So what's the happy balance here?
Make everyone answerable what you do. It's high time. Look at one small thing. I'll give you just a quick solution. We have Animal Welfare Board to protect animals. Yeah. Why don't we have a Sustainable Welfare Board to protect the planet? So every producers, whoever goes before censor board, like you get the certificate from Animal Welfare Board, you make how much you do that. From beginning, you get our approval. Let's not always blame the government, that government is not doing that, government is not doing that. We are private organizations. We do our own business alone, okay? These smaller things, when you, before going to production, like before using an animal, you take a permission from the Animal Welfare Board saying that, yeah, I did a film. This is Lakshmi, camel, her health condition is this. Till I finish the film, then I generate a certificate with doctor's permission saying that, okay, she is fit and fine. Then only I get a certification from Animal Welfare Board. Why don't you make? That's a very simple thing to do. And why can't we do this? We are all human. Look at we are in a climate high urgency situation. Be it pollution, be it everything. I mean, look at this. Instead, in contradiction, what we do, we say that, oh, we created a set, humongous set, we destroyed that after the shoot. We destroyed 200 cars in Fast and Furious, that becomes your advertising for the film promotion. Why can't we do on the other side? Technology has developed. Look at in Avatar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, James Cameron created a huge panel of 1 megawatt solar energy power. So half of the energy was utilized, not dirty diesel. So he was making a film on something like that, and he was using right elements from bottles to the electricity. So I think we can easily do that. I sort of film in Ireland. Of course, it was, I would say, majburi, But still, we used to share one bottle of water with everybody. And we had clearly said that no plastic will be allowed to the island. Very easy to do. There is no rocket science. You don't have to be Elon Musk to learn rocket science to go there. It's very, I mean, you and I, right here we can do that,
And I think we've touched upon this, but I'm going to ask Garth. Now, Australia has one of the world's most advanced green production frameworks. Yeah. Which of those standards do you think are actually exportable to high-volume markets like India, which makes 2,000 films a year?
Oh, God, I'm not an expert on that. I don't know. I can't speak for your country, I'm sorry, for India.
So not speaking for India, which of the Australian practices do you think can be exported to India?
I'm not aware of what your practices are to start with, but I guess...
There aren't any.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I think that I made a film, Lion, which was in Kolkata, and I guess I can speak to that experience. I don't know, I feel like it's not just these practical things. I think it's also just about respect as well for the crews and the talent and the cast. I feel like there's something much deeper that needs to change for real change. I think there's all those practical things that we're all talking about, and people can speak to that more specifically than me. But I feel that I try to create an atmosphere of respect and inclusivity through everything that I do. And I feel that brings out the best in people and can bring about real change, I think. So that's, sorry, that's a bit kind of abstract. But I think everything applies. You come into a village, you need to respect the people of that village. Are there any indigenous elements or cultural respect? Are there any elders that you need to integrate? So I think you need to have cultural respect, environmental respect, making sure that where your unit base is, how you operate is done in a very respectful way. A light touch on the earth. So when you leave it the way you found it, or you enrich it, So maybe you can look to incorporate the local communities into the catering or into other aspects. Can you support the local filmmakers or anybody, give people opportunities? So I think that's happening a lot more in Australia, at least. And I think they're the things that I would be promoting. I can't speak for everyone else, but they're all the things that we're trying to do.
Sorry, is there a policy with Screen Australia now on sustainable filmmaking?
There is. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but yeah, there are strong policies, and people are implementing it and going beyond that. But now there's even pressure to create policy around climate themes in stories, like in the actual thematics of your stories, trying to imbue positive aspects or raising issues in your stories. So there's more awareness around it, and there's a growing trend definitely happening in Australia. I went to a conference in Australia, and there's a lot of filmmakers and producers now leading the charge. And it's not just about the physical production, it's actually more about the stories we tell.
Okay, so what you're saying is it has to start from a culture level and then come to the practical aspect.
I think so. I think I was saying this earlier. For me, the state of the planet is a reflection of the state of us and our relationships. And all my films look to remind people of respect and kindness. And that doesn't fit the algorithm. That's okay. I'll keep going until I'm told not to. But I do think we all feel that. It's all in us universally. And I feel like if we can draw on that in the stories we tell, it affects our behaviour in our lives. And that goes hand in hand with all of the physical things that we're trying to do as well.
And coming to you, Mina, Japan's industry is very disciplined from what I've seen, but it's also deeply traditional in its workflows. So where do you see the friction when it comes to greening long-established production practices?
Yeah, in Japan, the discipline on a film set is really strong, but at the same time, we have like a really traditional ways of working on set. So when it comes to like we need to introduce these like a new modern ways of filmmaking, there's always friction, that I would say. But as I mentioned before, like on my set, at least like now international co-production is like more in Japan. So the way of thinking is changing, that's I could feel. So it's kind of like a shifting from the very traditional filming way in Japan to like a more like an international way. We are more accepting more like international ways, so which is like as I mentioned, like a Drive, Google Drive, or like using data, and crew and cast can download on their device so that they don't have to print out and don't waste paper like that. Or like Anna mentioned, but like hire local crew. If we have to shoot somewhere, we usually try to shoot around Tokyo, main city, or around Tokyo. But if we have to go somewhere else, we try to hire local people so that we don't have to send crew from the Tokyo. Or we try to like rent equipment locally so that we don't have to ship them to these locations. Or I wanted to mention about Japanese transportation system, which is really punctual. So usually we try to fit in a schedule so that people can take, usually first train starts around 5:30 a.m. So to fit in the schedule, we try to match like all the schedules so that people can take public transportation, so we won't like waste gas, and finish on time so that they can take at least like before last train, they can take the train and go back home. Like that way, we are trying, but there's still friction that I feel like whenever I work with like bigger studios, because it's really solid that they have the system already. So changing it is like, I still feel friction is there.
But it's improving as we speak.
It is improving. That's I feel
And Anna, Spain has been positioning itself as a sustainable production hub, and so what does this mean for the local crews, and what does it look like for international crews? For example, there was a big Indian film, Bollywood film, a few years ago called Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, which had a big sequence in Spain. So when people go from a country like India or anywhere else for that matter, what can they expect? And is it any different from what local crews expect?
So the main difference between local shootings and the international ones that there that when in Spain you get a public fund from the Ministry of Culture, from the ICAA, you have to apply the sustainability rules that that are on the basis of these public subsidies, and then you have to get the certificate from a company that says that your shooting it's a green shooting, and then you have to present this this certificate for the public subsidy that it's 1 million euros. It's a lot of money. So if you don't get this certificate, you cannot get the money. So this is something that at the beginning it was a shock, from the local production companies, because I think this is the audiovisual industry is the only industry in Spain that it has to do that. And from at the beginning it was something strange, and we've been complaining and trying to understand why. But now that it happens, like I think 4 or 5 years ago, now that we're working with that, we completely understand why, and we're applying these rules, these small actions that are on the protocol, and now it's something normal for us. I mean, we don't think about plastic bottles, for example. We don't think about that. On the shootings, everyone takes their own bottle and you fill it with the water. So that's the main difference between national productions and international productions. But also, the catering, that we try to find the suppliers from near where the shooting is, also the crew, the rental, everything. We try to do it the more sustainability that we can, because we have to get this certificate. Then next step, maybe in 1, 2, 3 years, it's to compensate, your CO2. Planting trees or paying the company to do any actions that can compensate the CO2 that you create on shooting, that it's not small, as you said before. So this is the next step, no? But the first step is to measure, to get the certificate, and to be conscious about what are you doing and how you can change that. For the international productions, this is not like that, because in Spain you come like the Indian Patan, no? What's a movie that went to Spain for Patan shooting? But also, in Spain we shoot Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, many international TV series and movies. So it's different, because when you come to Spain from out, you don't apply for the Spanish subsidies, you apply for the tax rebate, so you don't have to present this certificate. But it's true that the local crews were being very conscious with that, because it's mandatory for us. So it is something that I know that the local crew from Spain, but also all the suppliers and everyone that is in the industry, now that we are conscious, they do it with the international crews too. So this is something that is not mandatory for international shootings, but it's part of our way of doing the things. So I think this is very positive, and it comes from the government of Spain, it comes from the ministry. And as I said, at the beginning, it was something that we don't like it, because it was something new. I say, why I have to spend money to get this certificate? Why I have to spend money on a green protocol? But now that it's something that we do it like in every shoot, it's something that it's part of the industry. So that's why when a crew came from out of Spain, or a shooting comes to Spain, we apply that, because it's part of our day by day, for the rentals, for the crews, from all the suppliers.
So far we have looked at the subject from a hardcore industry perspective. Now let me flip it to the other side. In each of your respective...
Can I add on? It's like, I feel like we're too shameless sitting here in front of these 3 countries, because it's like the kind of work they're doing, just, what they're doing, Australia, Japan, every small thing, the way they're getting conscious, it's incredible. And here we advertising X star using 6 vanity van. Imagine the amount of carbon footprint you're using. Imagine the amount of diesel you are using, and still we don't learn. look at this, and we're saying that we are the best industry, we are the largest industry in the world. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so what I'm going to ask kind of ties in with what you said is, from an audience perspective, do your respective audiences expect environmentally conscious filmmaking? Whoever wants to take it first.
Well, I think it's simple. We should start putting that as a level that from the beginning of the film, the carbon credit. That this film, that's how you can make the audience understand how this film has been made. Because, of course, everybody's, we are not making film on climate change, on environment, but this film is made saving this much of carbon footprint, that certification, that will we now see every theater, before the film begins, we see about tobacco usage ad. So similarly, just have one certification. Apart from the censor board certificate, we have one certificate, which is sustainable certificate. Then we make the audience also get the basic consciousness. Otherwise, it's the largest consumer country. And I'll tell you a small example. I live alone. I asked my maid, to make food for one person. But look at the habit. She makes food for 3 people. Either I have to eat that in 3 times, or I throw the food of 2 people. That's the mess we do in film productions. A lavish, large servings, half of that goes waste. So this is what it is. In one certificate, you conclude everything, and you generate basic consciousness. So it's not awareness, it's not about the mathematics of it. It is you emotionally ask people to support. And film can do that.
I would say for younger generations, yes. I have 2 daughters who are very mindful of everything, really, diversity, environment, all those kind of things. I think they don't think about it necessarily in respect to entertainment, but I think if there was some sort of classification or something, that would go a long way for them. So I think the young generation want change, and they are the future voters. So I think politicians need to be very mindful that they're going to lose very, very quickly, because there's a young generation coming through. And I've forgotten what I was going to say. Oh, yes, the elephant in the room is AI. So, 20 cars blowing up is cheaper than using AI to make 20 in a way. So I don't know if you've seen it here, but I know in Australia you just go driving in the industrial areas and there's these massive data farms being built. They're like dystopian. They almost look CG. So the amount of energy that is required now, because everything is AI driven, even our Google searches and everything, and that's creating way more pollution than everything we're talking about. And that's where the world's going. So I think this is we've really got to kind of deal with it. It's a thing. I don't have any answers, by the way.
No, but it's a good point that you raise, because you think on the face of it, I can just key in something and I can make 20 cars blow up, right? But then the hidden cost to it, which most people don't see, is what you exactly described. I was at the Shanghai Film Festival and there was a presentation on the Chinese data farms, the data generation farms, and they were like city blocks. Each one is like a city block in size.
Absolutely, and I think the only way that we can go forward is that they're all driven by green energy. So I know I don't know if it'll ever happen, but there's discussion of creating massive solar farms in the desert and to kind of feed these data centres. But all of the investors are going into data centres. That's where they think the future, they're chasing the money. Everyone does. That's what it's all about. But that's fine. If that's where we're going, well, let's create the foundation for it to be green. Let's get it right. We're still burning coal, which is bizarre. We don't need to. So I feel like it's got to change at the top. But I do think the young generation is going to come through, and there's going to be a change in government, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I also don't have exact answer, because hearing all the answers, I feel like Japan is still behind because like we don't think about like eco-friendly on set, but somehow maybe because like we like respect nature naturally, that's why we do those things. But like we are not that much developed to save the energy. That's because of like we don't have like a subsidy like Spain. Maybe if we have that, this acknowledge that we need to do something like check the list. But other than that, we don't have the custom. So I think having the credit and let the audience know that this film is made eco-friendly is kind of the way that we can like tell and maybe like learn together on set. That's the way, I think.
I think, of course, it's very important that the audience they have to know that we are working on a eco-friendly industry. But I think it's also more important, as you said, that the new generations, not the new, I mean the actual, but also the new generations that we are working on cinema from the very beginning, from the cinema schools, from the the career to start. It's very important to start showing them that this is something that they have to do, that this is something that it has to be part of the shootings, it has to be part from the very beginning, from the main idea, from the script writing, that it has to be part of the industry, but also of the world. No, of course, I think it's important to show to the audience that we're working on that, and panels like this one, they're very important too, because we are talking about that, we're showing to the people, we're sharing our experience, and we're, I think, hopefully, telling you that how we do the things, and telling that we are very conscious about that, and that we are trying to make a better world through our industry. But I think it's also very important to make this conscious to all the industry all over the world, of course, not in Spain, in Europe, but also in India, Hollywood, Bollywood, Japan, China, Australia, in all over the world, all the crews from the first one to the biggest one, to the director, to create this conscious. And I think this is the most important, and of course for the next generation, this is the most important achievement for us, to create this conscious. And then, of course, communicate that and to tell that to the audience. Of course, it's very important, but I think we have to start from us from inside to outside.
Speaking from inside to outside, Nila, you're one of the few Indian filmmakers who consistently make films based on environmental issues. So do you think Indian audiences are now finally ready for films that are pure play environmental issues without a commercial bridge to help them over the subject?
Well, I think as a maker, we should not consider audience in that way. Audience likes everything as long as you make it well and they like it. So it's a very simple game. When I make Kadvi Hawa, we all thought that it's a art house cinema, but it was well spread, It was running in theater also well. When it went to the OTT also, I get messages and things for it's been 9 years we made Kadvi Hawa. So I think as a maker, if you make a film right, there is nothing called commercial art house. Every film is commercial because ultimately we are making films for the audience. You entertain, Avatar is a film about environment in a way, about sustainability. I made Water Trilogy. So first was Kaun Kitne Pani Mein, which was a complete like a song and dance, like a Bollywood film. I made Kadvi Hawa, then I made Kaliratita, which is my last one, Yesterday's Past. So I think if we see the audience, the size of audience, Indian audience across the world, also the people who love Indian cinema is huge. And we can really do that change through cinema, and there is an audience always ready for it.
And Mina, when I was at the Tokyo Film Festival recently, there was a presentation which blew my mind, which said that Japanese anime is now worth $25 billion a year. Billion with a B, right? So the animation and live action in Japan have different environmental footprints. So what do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of these two footprints in vis-a-vis Japan?
This might not be the exact answer because like live action and animation has a different, as you mentioned, like a different footprints, and I think they both have a different like effects on like a different ways, like impact. But I wanted to touch upon was about like more about workplace health, because like for both industries like animation and live actions, before considering about like eco-friendly environment, I really believe that we have to have like something like a workplace for crew and cast much healthier, because like in Japan it's still as I mentioned, there's traditional ways of working. It's like long hour overtime. And I think it's really crucial to discuss like in Japan, because I was searching about this, about like Mr. Koreda director. He established this organization called Action for Cinema. The organization was established like in 2022, and he tried to push MPPA, which is about like composed of 4 major Japanese film companies to contribute 1% of the ticket revenue. But in the end, it didn't work out because they refused it. And since 2022, he's still struggling with getting that only 1%. Why I'm saying 1%? Because like in France, there's like a CNC organization which contribute 11% from the ticket revenue, and also like Korea does 3%, but Japan 0. So for filmmakers, it's really hard to keep making films. That environment, I really believe we have to change. From that, we can discuss about eco-friendly environment. So before that, if we can fix this environment, I think it's really hard for us to move on to this friendly, like eco-friendly environment. So that's, I wanted to just mention, but it's not about like live action and animation, but yeah.
And a question is for Anna, but I'll open it to all 4 of you, which is, you mentioned that in Spain, people now are the crews are used to, the sustainable practices, and they fill their own water bottles and everything. So does this improve the craft of cinema in any way?
I don't know. I don't really know it. I think it's something that, of course, it was necessary for the cinema, because before that, we didn't do anything. So I think something that it was important for the cinema, but I'm not sure that it's improving the industry. It's what also she said, the most important thing is create an environment where we can make movies. And then, of course, we have to be sustainable and to apply these rules, and then to get this certificate, but it costs money. So I'm not sure that this is something that it's improving the industry, but of course, I think it's something that it was necessary. So I think, I'm very happy with, because I'm very conscious from many, many years ago, from my family, my friends, my environment, that we have to respect the world, and we have to recycle, and we have to take care of these small things that, as I said. So the thing is, I don't know if this is something that can help the industry, but I think, of course, it can help the world. So this is one of the most important things. Of course, there are people that in Spain, for example, that they are complaining because they don't have the money for making the movies, so they cannot think about to pay for this certificate. But I think that it has to be part of all the actions that we do in every day, not just for the movies, not just for the industry. It doesn't matter if you have more money or less money. It's something that it has to be part, as the same that you need for shooting. For a shooting, you need a director, you need a camera, and you need a light, no? So I think it has to be part of it. But I'm not sure that this is something that it's improving the industry, because at the same time, it make a cost. No, it's something that to get the certificate or to get some equipments that they are not that they are green, but they are more expensive than the ones that they are not. So I think we're at the very beginning of this new era of the sustainability in the film industry. So we are at very beginning. So that's why it's very important. I think the new generations, the new people that they are starting on the industry to get conscious with that and to apply it from the very beginning.
That's a good headline, the beginning of a new era. Speaking as a journalist.
It's true, because in Spain, 5 years ago, when you said something, I used to work on a very big production company, and we had our green protocol, and we said from the very beginning, from the first day of the pre-production, so we have this protocol that we should apply. Something very easy, the bottle of water, the car sharing, not to print everything. We don't need to print everything. These kind of small things. And the people were like, wow, you are crazy. What are you doing? Come on, let's print everything. Let's let's use one car per person. Let's do something that, because it's something normal. It's part of the way of life that we used to do since now. So what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And now, no one says, why? Why do you want to share a car? Why you want to hire a local crew? Why you want? No, it's something. Okay, yeah, sure, of course, let's do that. So that's why I say that it's the beginning of this new era, and hopefully this is something just the beginning. Next, and we have a lot of new steps that we should achieve, I think, soon.
Garth?
I think that there's a general lift in energy and optimism. I find knowing that you're not dealing with polystyrene cups, which we're used to, water bottles. I don't think anyone wants to be unsustainable in Australia. I think we all want. It's just that we're under so much pressure to move, and the crews get thirsty and they need sustenance, and there was no way to deliver that to them in a way that was sustainable. But I think that's getting a lot better, and I think everyone feels good about that. So I do think there's a subtle difference in that regard. And a real willingness, actually, from everyone. The one thing that I spoke to a producer recently, and he was inundated with crew coming up saying, I can make my imprint smaller, my footprint smaller. Half my crew would like to ride to work. So we have less parking, less diesel, but you just have to adjust the call sheet because they need to leave 20 minutes earlier than everyone else. And so he said he was just inundated with all of these crew just saying, I want to do better. Or if we get a solar panel, we've done the math for this amount, we rent it out, I can reduce my footprint. So it's actually not just coming from the top, it's actually coming from the crew now in Australia. So it's very interesting. There's a real willingness. I think people really want it. I think it's definitely moving in the right direction.
Nila?
Well, I think in contrast, it's cost effective. Yes. The moment you do that, it's cost effective. It makes you feel happy. Every crew member probably feel much more proud to themselves. So if we bring that much, you have a guilt-free production. I would simplify that.
And Mina?
Yeah, I think in Japan, what we can apply for is as I mentioned, first we have to recognize that we have to improve the workplace healthier, and then step forward to this eco-friendly environment, which is we already have had these some of the practices, but at the same time, hearing those answers, I feel like we have to learn so many things from other countries. So having this kind of a session is really crucial, and also telling to Japanese people other countries are doing this is also really important. And then I feel like I have the duty to convey this session, what we talked about, to Japanese people, to spread the knowledge so that we can move forward.
Great. So the festival organizers should make this available. It'll be on YouTube, but make sure there are Japanese subtitles. And on that note, let's throw this open to the audience if there are any audience questions. Can we have some lights on the audience, please? I can see two hands. There's a lady in the second row. Yeah.
Hello. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Joanna. I come from Romania. And I made a film using repurposing practices. So basically, we used objects and carpets and wardrobes made from other objects. And it actually inspired us now to create from those film objects new fashion designs and other discipline objects. So I'm wondering first, how do you approach set design matters? Can you repurpose it into something else? And then can we befriend other industries so that if we have extra food to, I don't know, give it to some homeless association or stuff like that?
It's funny you say that because I was just talking with a lot of designers and they're talking about it's a tragedy. We have these huge sets that are kind of held back for copyright reasons or reshoots, and then they're just destroyed. So I don't know. It's not solved yet, but that's a discussion that's happening, and I've been a part of. Like, how do we find a way to get around the red tape, I guess, and where do you store these things? Is there some sort of national way that we can control it? But I think it's a brilliant idea, and could help people with lesser budgets as well.
I heard about a practice in Berlin. They are kind of building furniture from modules, so then they can repurpose the modules for other creations.
Sounds good to me.
Anyone else wants to? That's a great question, by the way.
Yeah, I think because I'm from a background of independent filmmaking, so we usually don't build set, but instead we try to find locations close to our ideas so we don't have to add anything. So we can use as it is, or we just add some props. And also costume-wise, like we usually buy, but after finishing the shoot, we try to give away to actors because we buy these costumes for the actors. So most of the actors like those costumes, so we give them away. Or sometimes crew really loves these costumes, so they take so that we don't waste or we don't throw away. And good point you mentioned was about bento boxes. We buy a lot of bento boxes and we also have a lot of leftovers, but after the shoot we try to donate that bento boxes so that we don't waste food. So every time we have zero leftover. Yes.
In Spain we have a big rental companies from the furniture and all the props and everything. So we don't used to buy things. We used to rent, and then there is a deal that you can make with these companies that you can buy. If you buy something, then you can, once you finish the shooting, then you give it to this rental house, and then you have a kind of like a badge, so you can take another object for free. So this is kind of a change, and it's the same with the clothes. There are 3 or 4 big companies where you can rent the clothes, and then if you buy something and you don't want it, you can give it to the house, to this company, and then they give you a discount or something for free. But also normally, at the end of the shootings in Spain, we used to make a kind of market for the crew and the talent, and all the people that it's around, where we sell for a very a significant price, €1, €2, €5, the thing. So that's the way that we can make a new life for the things. But in Spain, it's very common to rent the things. No, you rent the thing. You can paint it, you can change something, but we don't used to build the things. Many years ago, yes, but now we try. Normally for the independent movies, but also big movies. No, we try to find natural locations and then to set it with the props that we used to rent.
The gentleman in front had a question. Yeah, in the blue shirt.
I am coming back to Dr. Panda's observation, which I hope as a moderator you will minute it and allow it to reach higher ups in Indian authorities, that how important it is for introducing or some sort of making it normal, practicable like carbon print in filmmaking also. And in that I would like to add that if we make about 2,000 films, that is about 300,000 minutes of work, requiring maybe 2 million minutes of production. But we also have another parallel industry that is serials and web series. That's almost in India, though there is no perfect data available. It makes about 7,000 timing worth of filming, and that requires about 7 million minutes of filming. So simple things like incentive is given, that you get like urban print, some sort of incentive. Like we just on our own practiced that camera rolls at sun rising and camera stops at sunset. So we use as much possible the natural light instead of a lot of lights and generators and diesel and all those things. And more than that, it also helps the performing artist excellent rest repercussion time. So they go home and they take enough rest and they're energized for that. So I hope this conclusion, if it is conveyed to the country in India, quoting what exactly is being followed with our excellent foreign filmmakers, probably someday we will have that implemented. Thanks.
Thank you.
You will.
Yeah, gentleman has a mic in this third row.
Across the four industries, which could you name one or two areas which, according to you all, within the industry generate the largest footprint?
Largest footprint, of course, the set, clothes, lights, of course, because, and also transport, because we have bigger ego than love, bigger ego than mankind, because we all need an independent car to show how big you are as an artist than sharing the car with others. Like this smaller thing, we have been starting, as an indie filmmaker, last 2-3 films, we did the same thing. Whatever, after finishing the shoot, since I've shot mostly in rural areas, we started, once we finish the shoot, the villagers get really excited to see you. We dry clean all the clothes and started distributing in the villages so that somebody else can use it. Otherwise, you bring that and you throw it in the garbage bin. That wastage itself is a huge amount of carbon footprint you're creating. I think everything we do, it's just little consciousness, what I said. Yeah.
I mean, I would have a guess, and it would be definitely transport, petrol, diesel, but also I think feeding people. Because the shoot is such a small component. There's all the pre-production, and when you're on a big, I just did a big Netflix series in New Zealand, and it was ginormous. And there's so many people working for 8 weeks to 10 weeks, 12 weeks before the shoot. So you're servicing all of that. It's a huge machine. So that would be my guess.
Yeah, I shot it here in India last year in Kerala, and I was very impressed because we rent, camera, lenses, tripod. And then each object came with one person. And so the first day of shooting, we were like 50 people there. I was saying, who's that people? No, it's the one that is in charge of the tripod. No, it's the one that's in charge of the lens. So it was a very shock for me because, in Spain, when you rent the camera, and then I have my own camera and then my own camera crew. So we were like 50 people shooting there. Of these 50 people, 35, they were there waiting, doing nothing, losing their time. But then we have to feed these people, arrange the transportation, the hotel. So I think that maybe if we should here in India, this Indian industry, of course, people, it's important. But then if maybe you can try to just to use the people that you really need for the shootings, not this amount of a lot of people there on the set, because it's completely unuseful, and then at the same time it's a big waste.
That I agree. In fact, I go crazy looking at so many people standing in the set. I've done smaller productions, but the last one web series I did, there were like 180, 200 people standing, which you can easily manage in 70 or 80 people. Just, it's again, cost cutting. Cost cutting starts with this one small thing, making people silent before take. 200 people, you make them silence, that takes an hour. So it means 1 hour of production cost you're saving. It's very simple.
The reason for so many people is that in India, manpower is cheaper than the cost of insurance.
Yeah, I know. That's...
There was a lady, the question at the back.
Yeah, hi. So speaking as somebody who's interested in co-productions and universalizing efforts either in diversity or, in this case, sustainability, we've been looking at films and productions and how you cut things over there, and we're realizing it's either going to be within us or it's got to be policies. But we've got other areas of the industry, for example, film festivals. Is there a way that, so as a filmmaker, what kind of incentives do you think could work for, let's say, film festivals or funding or grants? There are a lot of incentives that are out there, clearly not enough, but at least this is across borders. Now, when you're submitting your film into a festival, do you think that there's something a film festival could do to improve this across borders?
Well, I think more than film festivals, it should be country specific, and the country, like we have many kind of incentive, the state incentives, tax incentive. We should just simply have a tax incentives. I mean, the practices Spain does is incredible,
Yeah, that's exactly my point, because we can't, because we do work across borders in terms of viewing the film as well. I'm saying, is there a way of universalizing the efforts, say, for example, through film festivals? Do you calculate your carbon footprint when you submit your film? Is that a way to reach the cultures that don't have those policies, that doesn't have that culture inbuilt in them? What do you think film festivals could do to help with sustainability?
Well, it depends on the festival. There has to be an alignment of the festival to have an understanding like that. I mean, none of them have probably ever thought about it.
That's why I'm asking for ideas.
If it starts with tier 1 festivals, probably everyone would follow.
Speaking of this festival, the bottles here are glass. And yesterday's parade started with the watering of a plant. Yeah,
but do you think there's like two different lines of work? One, it's from the main festival, to apply these sustainability rules, or the things like the bottles or the badges. The badges that are made by plastic. There are a lot of festivals that they start doing it with like carton or other kind of materials. So I think this is one part, from the main festival, that maybe it can. I mean, it depends on the country, of course, but maybe it should be great that each government of each country has their own measures from the film festivals, But also, the transportation, the planes, the trains, to try to improve these things on the festivals. And then I think the other line, it's about the movies that you submit on the festivals, as you said. So maybe it would be great for the big festivals, because the small festivals, I think, I know that they're very complicated for them just to exist. So it took just to have movies, just to get the people to go to the festival. But maybe for the big festivals, the A festivals, or the biggest one on each country, maybe it could be great if they can ask you for this certificate or to the thing that we were talking about. This is a eco movie, or this is a movie that it has followed the eco rules or something. This kind of the logo at the beginning of the movie. So maybe it would be great if these festivals ask you for that when you submit the movies, or if they ask you if you have applied some rules from eco during the shooting or during the post-production on your movie. Maybe that would be great.
I think that's a very valid point. I think in a simpler way, every festival should have one.
Yeah, is that an eco-friendly movie? Yes,
how
no,
much carbon
why?
footprint?
No?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think we have time for one last question in that corner.
Yeah, I was very happy to hear, the conscious approach in filmmaking. People are very conscious. Just wanted to know, like Neelaji suggested, why can't we have something like the way we have animal protection certification, like animals are not harmed? How about, is there any country or incentive been given by any country or any initiative been taken by government wherein they actually incentivize looking at the carbon emission created through the film? And this is, and also integrating, like he said, in thematically, integrating, because ultimately if you don't consume, obviously, you know, if we are conscious about what we consume, how we live our life, if that's thematically integrated in the filmmaking, it would be a beautiful situation. So is there any country which incentivizes or gives subsidy based on this kind of approach on sustainability or green initiative? Wanted to know from you.
Well, there was at one point a conversation around a carbon tax in Australia. So you pay a price for how much carbon you expel. And I think that, you know, if you look at a bottle of Coke, you know, it's come all the way, it's been shipped, it's been on a plane. The true cost of that Coke is probably enormous, or the true cost of that orange, which wasn't even grown in Australia, it came from Canada. Why am I paying for an orange? Why is that the same price as an orange that just comes from down the road? Because there's no price on carbon. We're not actually paying a true price for what we have. And I think that's the issue, is that if you buy something that expels a huge amount of carbon, you should pay for it. And that changes behaviour. And that's the problem, is there needs to be, I think, laws around pollution, because that shapes the market. It needs to be, we need certainty in government policy. And that's the problem we're having in Australia. You know, net zero by 2050, I think it is. And then now the Liberals have reneged on that deal, because there's still some people that, you know, create this conversation that it's raising energy costs. But the thing is, if there's not certainty in the marketplace, we can't change, because we need certainty. So to answer your question is no, I don't think there is any incentive. Maybe tax deductions would be good for things like that. Like maybe there can be some sort of, because there's, you know, location incentives, offsets, tax deductions for all of those things. We could do that with the environment, I think.
I think that's all we have time for this afternoon. Thank you so much for being here, and thank all of you for being here as well. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And over to the festival management.
Thank you, dear guests, for being with us here today. Thank you for this extremely wonderful session. I now request Ms. Gauri to please felicitate our guests.